All right, y'all, welcome back to the channel. Listen to this. Joe, Ian, and everyone up top clearly started moving differently toward him to the point where he genuinely thought his job was on the line. And hold up, that feeling didn't come out of nowhere because his work days were actually reduced. Now, according to him, it wasn't a straight up demotion since his pay stayed the same, but let's be real, when your days get cut, that sends a message. Because of that, he switched up how he shows up on the pod, and you can absolutely see it. On the days he's present now, the pod runs way smoother. It runs smoothly in the episodes where Mona is there too. And girl, you already know how things usually go when she shows up. She's not here right now, so I'm not even gonna go there. I just want to point out the contrast. What really caught my attention is how Ice and Flip seem to have this low-level tension brewing. Not full-blown beef, but Ice is always poking and prodding at Flip whenever Flip talks about Freeze and his family or whatever their situation is. Freeze also stays on Flip's neck constantly, and that's wild considering Joe is usually the one who starts the jokes every single time. He's the instigator, period. So to me, there are only two possibilities here. Either Flip is catching all this smoke from Ice because Flip doesn't play about people speaking to his family. I'll give Ice a little grace there. Or, and this part matters, Ice just doesn't respect Flip the same way he respects Joe. And since Joe is signing the checks, you can connect the dots yourself. Honestly, I'm torn on whose side to take here, because I agree with Ice on one thing. No, you don't get to comment on my family, my relationship, or how I run my household. You don't get to fire off jokes at me non-stop just because Joe is doing it, especially when nobody is allowed to touch your family. On that point, I'm riding with Ice. But at the same time, I'm also with Flip. Freeze, listen carefully. You jump into jokes about everybody else all the time. When they were calling me Chicky Nuggy, you were right there laughing and adding on. Every time someone gets clowned, you chime right in. But the moment the jokes swing your way, suddenly it's a problem. Now you've got all this chest, all this energy, and you shut it down so hard that it comes off super sensitive. And I know Ice claims he doesn't care what the community says, but let's be honest, you're looking extremely sensitive right now. Joe has clearly taken a special interest in you. He's been shooting at you non-stop, so I'll give you that much. But still, the pattern is there. You can dish it out, but you can't take it. You're always in on the jokes about everyone else, but you fold when it's your turn. That's why I'm conflicted. However, I've definitely noticed this trend. This isn't the first time Ice has come at Flip sideways. The second Flip started talking about Freeze. So let's keep our eyes on that moving forward. Now, in this specific episode, I had literally just started watching Wayno on YouTube. Shout out to Wayno, because he's really grabbed my attention lately, and it just so happened that he decided to speak on academics. You won't believe this, because I had already seen that academic stream where he was asking why nobody is calling out Jay-Z, Aaliyah, those old photos, and why certain people's names keep popping up in those files, but nobody wants to talk about it. He was basically saying, y'all give passes to the people you're cool with. So he broke all of that down, and it instantly made me think, hold up, didn't Joe just come out criticizing rappers for staying silent on serious issues? Joe is extremely skilled at shifting the focus off himself. Every time the heat gets close, someone else magically becomes the topic. I'm actually diving deeper into this later today on Patreon when I talk about the Shannon Sharpe interview. Joe is a master at redirecting, let's be honest. But at the same time, academics wasn't wrong, and Wayne clearly saw that too because he addressed it on his platform. Now I'm curious, and Wayne is too, to see if anyone else is going to step up and speak on this from their own platforms. There are several things people want Joe to address. Nicki Minaj, the Epstein files. They also want Joe to chill on the political commentary, constantly saying fuck Trump this, Trump that, and in certain ways I agree with him on the ICE angle, but I'm not going to go all the way down that rabbit hole right now. People keep demanding Joe speak on the people he's connected to, yet Joe is the loudest voice asking, where are the rappers speaking on this? Well, Joe, you can't play both sides. You're the one with the massive platform and the loudest mic. You're the one reaching millions every single week, multiple times a week. So when I tuned in to the latest episode and didn't hear a single word about any of it, I noticed. Instead, y'all were talking about the Grammys, women at the Grammys, who wore what, who won, and who didn't. But when truly serious issues are sitting right there on the table, suddenly nobody's hungry. That stood out to me. And trust me, I'm paying closer attention to that pattern moving forward. I don't think Joe is bought and paid for. I don't believe anyone has him in their pockets. This feels more like preventative behavior. I don't want to upset people I might want to do business with later. And to be fair, he's been addressing this criticism more and more lately, which tells me he's aware of it. But here's the thing. While his status keeps rising higher and higher, his willingness to speak freely keeps shrinking. It's quieter. Every interview I watch Joe do, I expect him to talk about himself and his life, not the business side, because he covers that everywhere else. But the moment he pivots into current events, he barely says anything at all. So in my mind, it feels like he's protecting the future bag, not even the current one. And honestly, that says a lot. I can't even say I ignored this on purpose. I always heard people mention it, but I personally didn't care before. I never tuned in to the Joe Budden podcast expecting that kind of commentary. But ever since Mark Lamont Hill joined the pod, and shout out to him by the way, I saw people in the comments saying it's better without Mark, and I completely disagree. Since he's joined, the conversations have leaned more political and more serious. So now I'm watching closely to see if they're really going to dig into these topics, or if they're just going to name drop them so they can say they touched on it. By the end of the pod, Joe dipped into that patriarchal bag, and I know for a fact he and Mark don't fully align on that. I do appreciate them opening these discussions, but if Joe is willing to go there, I want to see where he actually takes it. Is he going to start speaking his mind again, or is he going to stay quiet and keep pointing fingers at everyone else? That part, we'll see. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel.